Friends, welcome to this place. Here we honor the inherent worth and dignity found in everyone. We gather together each week in covenant and in community to remind ourselves that we are good, that we are loved, that we could all use a little work, and that we are in this together. So whoever you are, whatever you believe, whomever you love, we welcome you to this congregation.
When the great mosaic of humanity is treated with respect and dignity, when no person is threatened by hunger or war, when we have extended hospitality to the stranger and tended to the sick, when equity is and justice reign everywhere, then we shall all be free. We light this flame to hold that moment in our spirit and in our minds until we make it real.
And then the worlds went dark, holding tender space for our much-needed slumber and rest. And then the earth froze, hiding away those tiny morsels of life until the warmth returns. And then the skies snowed, reflecting the ever-growing light of compassion back into our hearts. And then the congregation gathered, uniting once again in the spirit of fellowship and sacred trust. And then the universe smiled, knowing that hope is reborn wherever a community of love is found. Come, let us worship together.
Together in
rise in body or in spirit for our opening hymn, Come Thou Fount of Every Blessing. It's number 126. Warmth of this sacred space. Let's pause. Let's take a moment to focus on our breath. Notice your body. Notice how you're sitting. Comfortable space. Rest your hands loosely in your lap. Take a long, slow, deep breath in. Hold it for a moment. Exhale. Let's hold in our hearts all that was spoken this morning. Joys and sorrows. Take another long, slow, deep breath in. Hold it. Exhale. Allow any tension you might be holding to melt away with each breath. Continue to notice your breath as we enter into a time of shared silence. Well, friends, on this Martin Luther King weekend, we often hear of those brave, courageous civil rights leaders of the 1960s. And it is right that we honor and celebrate all that they fought for, in many cases, all that they died for. Yet we know that the fight for basic human civil rights goes back much further than the time of Martin Luther King. And we know that the struggle for basic human rights for the oppressed and the marginalized continues to this day. So today, with the help of our children, we'd like to share with you the stories and words of some of those African Americans from our own Unitarian Universalist faith who worked tirelessly in their own time towards fairness and justice for all people. Our first reading this morning comes from Frances Ellen Watkins Harper, who lived from 1825 to 1911. She was an absolutely extraordinary woman. She was the first African American woman to publish a short story, and one of the first to publish a novel. She was a traveling lecturer for the American Anti-Slavery Society, who also worked for the Underground Railroad. She helped co-found organizations supporting equality for the races and genders, such as the National Association of Colored Women's Club. She famously refused to give up her seat or ride in the colored section of a segregated trolley car in Philadelphia. She was also a member of First Unitarian Church in Philadelphia and frequently read her poetry from the pulpit. So this morning we're going to hear one of her poems. I would invite Bo Raza to come forward and share one of Frances Ellen Watkins Harper's poems.
Learning to read. Very soon the Yankee teachers came down and set up school. But oh how the Rebs did hate it. It was again their rule. Our masters always tried to hide book learning from our eyes. Knowledge didn't agree with slavery. 'Twould make us all too wise. But some of us would try to steal a little bit from the book and put the words together and learn by hook or crook. I remember Uncle Caldwell, who took pot liquor fat and greased the pages of his book and hid it in his hat. And had his master ever seen the leaves upon his head, he'd have thought them greasy papers, but had nothing to be read. And there was Mr. Turner's Ben, who heard the children spell, and picked the words right up by heart and learned to read 'em well. Well, the northern folks kept sending the Yankee teachers down, and they stood right up and helped us, though the Rebs did sneer and frown. And I longed to read my Bible, for precious words it said, but when I begun to learn it, folks just shook their head and said, "There is no trying. Oh, Chloe, it is you're 60, you're too late." But as I was rising 60, I had no time to wait. So I got a pair of glasses and head straight to work. I went and I never stopped till I could read the hymns and Testament. Then I got a little cabin, a place to call my own, and I felt independent as the queen upon her throne.
Great job, Bo. Thank you. Well, our second reading this morning comes from Whitney Moore Young Jr., who lived from 1921 to 1972. He was a Unitarian who was a member of Unitarian churches in Minneapolis, in Omaha, Atlanta, and White Plains. He was the dean of the Atlanta University School of Social Work. He was also the executive director of the National Urban League during the Civil Rights Movement that addressed the inequities against African Americans. He fought for his whole life to desegregate the Atlanta public library system. And during his career, he was an advisor to Presidents Kennedy, Johnson, and Nixon. So now I would like to invite forward Noble Castle to come forward and share the words of Whitney Moore Young Jr.
In a speech delivered in 1968, Whitney Moore Young Jr. said, "Black is beautiful when it is a slum kid studying to enter college, when it is a man learning new skills for a new job, or a slum mother battling to give her kids a chance for a better life. But white is beautiful too, when it helps change society to make our system work for black people. Also, white is ugly when it oppresses black. And so is black ugly when black people exploit other blacks. No race has a monopoly or a vice or virtue, and the worth of an individual is not related to the color of his skin. Black power simply means, look at me, I'm here, I have dignity, I have pride, I have roots. I insist, I demand that I participate in those decisions that affect my life and the lives of my children. It means that I am somebody. You can holler, protest, march, picket, and demonstrate, but somebody must be able to sit in on a strategy conferences and plot of a course. There must be strategies, the researchers, the professionals to carry out the program. That's our role.
Thank you, Noble. Well, our third reading this morning comes from Dr. Tugulizi Sanyika, who chaired the Black Unitarian Universalist Caucus, a Black power organization within the Unitarian Universalist Association. He advocated that the UUA dedicate $1 million to a Black Affairs Council. He pushed the UUA to better understand how they were not living the essential truths of the faith's 7 principles. He's worked to get more Black ministers in UU pulpits throughout the years. I would now invite Everett Jennings to share the next reading.
Dr. Tugulizi Sanyika said this at the UU General Assembly in 2017. Unitarian Universalism at its finest and at its best is an instrument to transform humanity so that it can evolve to its highest level of consciousness and potential at its best, and it must consistently be vigilant to denounce all forms of human oppression, exploitation, degradation, domination, and control in any form that it comes. Unitarian Universalism, at its best, is a transformative agent for justice and liberation and peace in the world. At its best. But it can't do that if it marginalizes humanity. If it leaves anybody out of the table, you cannot fulfill that mission. You cannot fulfill that mission by being partial to some and not fair with all. Justice and equity must define who you are and what you say and what you do with who you claim to be. Because it's not just saying what you believe that matters, it's what you do with it.
Thank you, Everett. All right, well, now I would invite Fritz Fleischman forward to introduce the offering.
Good morning. It's great to see you all. I want to share a little story with you. I have a friend who is retired like myself and a reader like myself. In fact, I would call him a book eater. But we get together once a month or every 6 weeks to take a walk. So 2 old guys and an old dog. Bruno comes along. He's very slow, so there's much more talking than walking going on, as you can imagine. So we talk about the books we have read since we last walked, and we usually end up bemoaning the state of the world. So he is very concerned about geopolitical issues, the challenge to democracies worldwide. My focus tends to be on environmental degradation. Anyway, so we always end up with the question, where can we turn to stay sane? What can we do in this world? And So he turns around and says, well, the only answer is community. And I say, well, yeah, loving community. And he says, well, if you can find one. Well, at that moment, somebody felt very lucky. And I want to say to you, we should stop once in a while and feel lucky in the same way. And so I encourage you to do your best, as always, to sustain this community and donate.
Well, friends, as I hear our children share the words of some of our Unitarian Universalist heroes, I'm given hope, which honestly, lately, has sometimes been hard to find. You know, we look around at our world here in 2024, and sometimes it feels like so many things are broken. Our environment is badly damaged. Climate is heating up, with 2023 being the hottest year ever on record. Animals and plants are going extinct at alarming rates, and our world leaders don't seem to be taking the problem nearly seriously enough. Our trusted governmental leaders, ones we put our faith into to make our country a better place, all too often operate out of greed and self-interest. Our media outlets, once our source for truth and accountability, have far too often become polarized with opinion and bias. Our economic systems are severely out of balance, creating an ever-growing income gap between the super rich and everyone else. Growing poverty in our streets, gun violence on the rise, and horrific wars being fought in Gaza and the Ukraine. But sometimes when I look at the world we are leaving to our children, I feel this overwhelming sense of sadness that this is not how it's supposed to be. We're supposed to leave the world better for the next generation. Sadly, sometimes that doesn't seem to be the case here in 2024. You know, then I hear the voices of Bo, Noble, and Everett recite the words of others from our history who also faced what seemed like insurmountable struggles in their lifetimes. People who didn't wallow in despair and the sorry state of the world, but people who went out and they did something to make our world just a little bit better. That is what gives me hope. You know, sure, our world today may have problems, but when Frances Ellen Watkins Harper was growing up, our country was still stealing people from Africa and forcing them to work as slaves without pay or any chance to earn their freedom. When Whitney Moore Young Jr. was alive over 50 years ago, African Americans throughout the South were not allowed to vote, go to the schools that they wanted, get the jobs that they deserved. Sure, our problems today can seem insurmountable. I imagine that the world often seemed pretty broken to those who came before us as well. What gives me hope are people like Dr. Tuzeganzi Sanyika, who, along with so many others, has pushed our Unitarian Universalist faith to accountably dismantle racism in all its insidious forms. What gives me hope are those countless people who are willing to stand up and work for justice. They know that the civil rights movement did not end in the 1960s with Martin Luther King Jr. No, the struggle for basic civil rights continues to this very day. What gives me hope ultimately are our children, those across the globe who are marching for change, and those voices of our amazing children who we heard from this morning. Our children who are not willing to simply accept things as they are. We're building a fairer and more just world every day. Our children who are leading with love. They are the ones that give me hope. Now please join us for our next hymn, Lift Every Voice and Sing, which is number 149 in your great. And as we prepare to go out into the world, I leave you with the words of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Human progress is neither automatic nor inevitable. Every step toward the goal of justice requires sacrifice, suffering, and struggle, and the tireless exertions and passionate concern of dedicated individuals. May it be so. I'll now extinguish our chalice. May its light and warmth stay in our hearts until we meet again. Here ends our worship. Let our service begin.